My sister said, cancel your job interview and take my son to his baseball game tomorrow. When I said no, she mocked me. When is your wife and kids? Oh, right, you don't have any. My parents laughed, so I said, still no job? Guess that's why I've been paying your rent. My sister looked me straight in the face and said, cancel your job interview tomorrow and take Tyler to his baseball game. Not asked, told. Like my calendar belonged to her. Like the most important professional opportunity I'd had in years was something I could erase because she didn't feel like sitting on metal bleachers for 2 hours. I stared at her across my parents' dining table. What? Vanessa rolled her eyes. You heard me, Gia. His game starts at 11. I have plans. What plans? She took a slow sip of wine. Brunch. I actually thought she was joking. She wasn't. My mother kept cutting her chicken. My father stared at the television mounted on the wall behind me, even though the volume was muted. And Vanessa sat there with the relaxed expression of someone who genuinely believed I was about to rearrange my entire life because she'd spoken. I have an interview at 10, I said. Vanessa shrugged. So cancel it. No. The word came out before I could soften it. That mattered, because for most of my life, I softened everything. No became, I'll see what I can do. I can't became, maybe later. You're taking advantage of me became, I'm just a little overwhelmed right now. But this time? No. Vanessa put her wine glass down. You're seriously choosing a job interview over your nephew? It's not choosing an interview over Tyler. You're his mother. And? And you can take him. Her mouth twisted into a smile, not a nice one. Oh, please. You always make everything sound so dramatic. I felt my shoulders tighten. I'm not being dramatic. You have no idea what it's like to have actual responsibilities. That made me laugh once. A short, stunned sound. Actual responsibilities? Yes, Gia. Children, a household, a real life. I looked around the table. My mother's lips were already curling upward. Vanessa saw it and leaned into the performance. She spread her hands. Where are your husband and kids? Then she snapped her fingers like she'd suddenly remembered something. Oh, right. You don't have any. My mother laughed. Not nervously, not accidentally. She laughed. My father followed with a low chuckle, and something inside me went completely still. Vanessa smiled wider.
There, see? Mom gets it.
I stared at all three of them. For years, I had wondered what my breaking point would feel like. I thought it would be rage, maybe shouting, maybe tears, maybe finally screaming every ugly truth I'd swallowed since I was 21. Instead, it felt almost peaceful. Like walking into a room after a machine has been humming for so long you stopped noticing it, and someone finally pulled the plug. I reached for my phone. Vanessa smirked. What, are you going to check your crystals and see if the universe agrees with you? Another laugh from my father. That one landed differently. I'm a professional psychic, yes, a real one, not the kind who corners strangers at parties and claims their dead grandmother wants them to buy a candle. I'd spent 11 years building a business around private intuitive consultations, grief readings, corporate entertainment events, workshops, and online sessions. You could believe in it or not. That part never bothered me. What bothered me was that my family mocked my profession while quietly living off the money it produced. I opened my banking app. Vanessa kept talking. You know, you should be grateful I give you time with Tyler. You're not exactly building your own family. I looked at her. Still no job? Her smile faltered. What? I tapped through 2 screens. Still unemployed? She narrowed her eyes. What does that have to do with anything? Nothing.
I tilted my phone toward myself and confirmed the recurring transfer. Guess that's why I've been paying your rent. The table went silent. Vanessa's face changed. Not dramatically, just enough. The little superior smile disappeared. My mother stopped chewing. My father finally looked away from the television. I tapped Cancel Recurring Payment. A confirmation appeared. Your automatic monthly transfer of $2,150 has been canceled. I set the phone beside my plate. Until today. For 3 full seconds, nobody spoke. Then Vanessa laughed, but this time it sounded forced. Very funny. I'm not joking. Mom put down her fork. Gia. I looked at her. What? You're angry. Don't make financial decisions when you're angry. I'm not angry. That was the strangest part. I really wasn't anymore. I'd moved past angry. Vanessa leaned forward. You can't just stop paying my rent. I blinked. I can't? My lease is due next week. I know. You promised. No.
I said I'd help you for 3 months while you found a job. That was different. It was 14 months ago. She stared at me. Dad cleared his throat. Gia, come on. Your sister's going through a difficult period. A 14-month period? She has a child. And I have bills. Vanessa snorted. For what? Incense? There it was again. That little sneer. That reflexive contempt for the thing that had paid her rent, her phone bill twice, Tyler's summer camp, half his baseball equipment, 3 emergency grocery runs, and the transmission repair on the SUV she somehow still considered necessary despite having no job. I stood. Mom's voice sharpened. Sit down. No. Gia, we are having dinner. You are. I picked up my purse. Vanessa's confidence started to crack. Wait, you're actually serious? Completely. You're going to make your nephew homeless because I asked for one favor? There it was. The first weapon. Tyler. Not herself. Never herself. My 11-year-old nephew, whom I loved more than almost anyone in that family, immediately placed between us like a human shield. I looked at her. I'm not making Tyler homeless. I'm stopping payments on an apartment occupied by a healthy 34-year-old woman who has turned down 4 jobs this year because she said they were beneath her. Mom gasped. Gia. What? Are we pretending that didn't happen too? Vanessa stood now. Her chair scraped loudly against the floor. You think because you make money telling lonely people fairy tales that you're better than me? I felt that one. I won't pretend I didn't. But I'd heard versions of it before. From strangers online. From skeptical clients' relatives. From people who thought anyone in my profession had surrendered the right to be taken seriously. It hurt differently coming from the sister whose security deposit I had paid. I nodded slowly. No. Then I looked around the table. I don't think I'm better than you. I picked up my phone. I just think I'm done financing people who think I'm beneath them. And I walked out. My name is Gia Marino. I'm 37 years old. And for most of my adult life, I was what my family liked to call the flexible one. That sounds nice until you understand what it means. Flexible meant I could miss things. Flexible meant my time wasn't serious. Flexible meant because I didn't have children, everything in my schedule could be moved. If Vanessa needed someone to pick Tyler up from school, call Gia. If Mom had a doctor's appointment, Gia could rearrange clients. If Dad needed help disputing a bill, Gia was good with paperwork. If Vanessa was short on rent, Gia had savings. If a family event was planned on one of my busiest working weekends, well, you work for yourself, just block the day. The irony was that I worked more hours than anyone in my family. They just didn't consider it work. My parents came from a very traditional background. Dad had spent 35 years in commercial insurance. Mom worked as a school secretary until retirement. To them, work happened in an office. There was a supervisor, a badge, a pension, preferably fluorescent lighting. My career confused them from the beginning. I started doing readings in college. At first, it was almost accidental. I'd always been unusually intuitive. I noticed tiny changes in people, patterns, tone, body language, the things people avoided talking about. I also grew up in a family where everyone said one thing and meant another, which may have been the best training imaginable. By 22, friends were sending friends to me. By 24, I was charging for appointments. By 27, I had a waiting list. Over time, I became careful about how I described what I did. I never promised miracles, never claimed medical certainty, never told someone to leave a spouse, invest money, stop medication, or make some huge life decision because the spirits said so. My clients came because the sessions helped them reflect. Some believed I genuinely connected to things beyond ordinary perception. Some treated it as spiritual counseling. Some just liked the experience. I was comfortable letting people decide for themselves, and I was good at it. Good enough to build a life. Good enough to buy my condo at 32. Good enough to have private clients across 3 countries. Good enough to be invited onto podcasts and regional television. Good enough that a luxury wellness company called Aurelia House had recently contacted me. They were opening a new flagship location. They wanted a resident intuitive consultant who would also lead workshops, develop digital content, and train their guest services team. Salary, benefits, a studio, a production budget, and most importantly, credibility outside the little business ecosystem I'd built alone. The interview Vanessa wanted me to cancel wasn't some random meeting. It was the final interview. I had already completed 2 rounds. The first was online. The second was with their creative director and head of guest programming. Tomorrow's meeting was with the founder. If it went well, the position would change my career. Vanessa knew all of this. I had told her at dinner the week before. She had barely looked up from her phone. Oh, cool. Then she asked if I could cover Tyler's new cleats. That was my sister. Vanessa was 3 years younger than me and had spent most of her life moving from one crisis to another while somehow making each one everybody else's responsibility. She got married at 24, divorced at 29. I genuinely supported her through it. Her ex wasn't violent or abusive, but the marriage was ugly and exhausting, and when it ended, I helped her move. I paid the security deposit on her new apartment. I watched Tyler while she went to mediation. I brought food. I sat with her while she cried. I never once regretted helping her. The problem was that the emergency ended. The assistance didn't. At first, she said she needed 3 months. I just need breathing room, Gia. That became 6, then 9, then a year. She had a marketing degree and solid experience. She wasn't incapable of working. She just started rejecting jobs. One paid less than she wanted. One required 2 days a week in an office. One had weird energy. Yes, my sister, who mocked me for being a psychic, once rejected a corporate marketing position because the office had weird energy. Another job was 35 minutes from her apartment. Impossible with Tyler. Tyler's school was 12 minutes from her home. My mother always found a reason. She's traumatized from the divorce. She needs time. She's trying to find the right fit. She can't take just anything. Meanwhile, every month on the 25th, $2,150 left my account. I told myself it was for Tyler. That sentence became the excuse for everything. Baseball fees? For Tyler. Groceries? For Tyler. New tires? Well, she needed the car to drive Tyler. Internet bill? Tyler needed it for school. Streaming subscriptions? He needed entertainment.
By the time I finally sat down and calculated what I had spent, I had to close the spreadsheet and walk away. Rent alone was $30,100. Add everything else, a little over $41,000. $41,000.
And during those 14 months, Vanessa had made jokes at Thanksgiving about my ghost business. She had told Tyler not to mention my work to his classmates because kids can be mean about weird jobs. My father still introduced me to people by saying, Gia does some online consulting. Mom once told a relative I was between careers. And I paid. Every month. Quietly. Reliably. Like an idiot. The morning after that dinner, I woke before my alarm. For a second, I didn't remember why my chest felt so light. Then I did. The rent payment. Canceled. I expected panic. Instead, I smiled. At 7:11 a.m., Vanessa texted me, "Are you done with your tantrum?" At 7:14, "I need confirmation the rent will still go through." At 7:22, "Gia." At 7:31, "Mom says you're being ridiculous." At 7:46, "Tyler is asking why Aunt Gia is mad at him." That one got me. I sat on the edge of my bed, staring at the message. Classic Vanessa. She hadn't even waited 12 hours before dragging him into it. I typed, "I am not angry with Tyler. Do not tell him this has anything to do with him. It doesn't." She replied immediately, "Then prove it and pay the rent." I put my phone face down. At 8:30, I dressed for my interview. Cream blouse, dark green trousers, gold earrings my grandmother had given me. I tied my hair back, then changed my mind and left it loose. On my dresser sat the deck of cards I sometimes used in sessions. For a second, I reached toward them. Then I laughed at myself. "No," I said to the empty room. "We're not asking the universe whether Vanessa is going to lose her mind." I didn't need supernatural insight for that. At 9:03, Mom called. I declined it. At 9:05, Dad called. Declined. At 9:08, Vanessa called. Declined. Then came the voicemail notifications. I didn't listen. Not yet. I drove to Aurelia House. Their new building was beautiful. 3 floors of pale stone, huge windows, warm wood, soft lighting. The kind of place where every detail had been designed to make your shoulders drop 2 inches the moment you walked through the door. I arrived 20 minutes early. At 9:52, my phone buzzed again. Vanessa. "Baseball bag is by the door. Pick him up at 10:30. Game is at 11. I read it twice. She had simply decided my no wasn't real. A second text arrived. "Don't punish him because you're jealous of my life." Something almost funny about that. Her life. The one I was subsidizing. I turned my phone off. At 10, I walked into my interview, and for the next 90 minutes, I remembered who I was when my family wasn't in the room. The founder, Celeste Warren, didn't ask whether I could really see the future. She asked about ethics, boundaries, how I handled vulnerable clients, how I differentiated spiritual guidance from therapy, how I would respond if someone became overly dependent on readings. She had done her research. It was the first professional conversation I'd had in years where I didn't feel like I needed to apologize for what I did before explaining it. Near the end, she folded her hands. "I'll be direct. Your client retention is exceptional. Your reviews are exceptional. But what interested me most was a clip from an interview you did 2 years ago." I raised an eyebrow. "Which one?" "You said, a responsible reader should never make someone feel that their future belongs to the reader." I remembered it. Celeste smiled. "That is exactly what we want here." I walked out at 11:42 feeling 10 feet tall. Then I turned my phone back on. 37 notifications. 9 missed calls. and one text from my mother that instantly erased the calm. Vanessa left Tyler at our house because you were supposed to take him. Your father had to cancel an appointment. This is unbelievable. I stopped in the parking lot. Vanessa had actually dropped her son at my parents' house and left for brunch because she assumed I would eventually obey. I called her. She answered on the second ring. Music and restaurant noise filled the background. Finally. Where are you? Out? You left Tyler with mom and dad? You were supposed to take him. I told you no. You always say no at first. That sentence. I'll remember it forever. Because she was right. That was how I had trained them. I said no. They pushed. I explained. They guilted me. I folded. She wasn't misunderstanding my boundaries. She had learned they weren't real. Until now. Vanessa, listen carefully. When I say no from now on, I mean no. Oh my God. I am not paying your rent. You're seriously still doing this? Yes. Over baseball? No, over 14 years. She went quiet. What is that supposed to mean? It means I'm tired. You don't know what tired is. I laughed softly. Okay. You don't have a child. You don't have a husband. You sit in a pretty room and talk to ghosts for a living. And somehow that pretty room has been paying for your apartment. Silence. Then she hissed. You are such a bitch. I hung up. The next phase started that afternoon. Not apologies, not reflection, recruitment. Vanessa recruited the family. By 4, my aunt had texted, your sister says you're threatening her housing because she asked you to help with Tyler. That's cruel, Gia. At 5, my cousin sent, not taking sides, but maybe think about the kid. At 6, Mom called again. This time I answered. She skipped hello. You need to fix this. What exactly am I fixing? Your sister is hysterical. She seemed fine at brunch. Don't be sarcastic. I'm not. She cannot come up with $2,000 in a week. That sounds like something she needs to discuss with her landlord. Mom inhaled sharply. Do you hear yourself? Yes. What happened to you? That question almost made me angry again. Not because I didn't know the answer, because I finally did. Nothing happened to me. Gia, I stopped agreeing. Mom went quiet. I continued. That's what changed. She's your sister. I know. Tyler is your nephew. I know. Then how can you do this? I closed my eyes. Mom, how much are you contributing to her rent? That is not the point. Dad? Gia. Any of the relatives texting me? She needs you. No, she needs money. That's different. You make more than enough. There it was. Not you offered, not you agreed forever, not even we appreciate what you've done, just you have it, therefore we deserve it. I sat back in my chair. Do you know how much I've given Vanessa since her divorce? She's family, you don't keep score. I do now. Mom's voice went icy. That's a very ugly way to live. No, what's ugly is mocking someone's career at dinner and expecting that same career to pay your bills the next morning. She was joking. Were you? Silence. I waited. Were you joking when you laughed? Mom exhaled. You are too sensitive. There it was, the second family weapon. If cruelty hurts you, the problem is your sensitivity. Good night, Mom. Do not hang up on me. Good night. I hung up. Then I did something I should have done years earlier. I opened my bank statements. All of them. I made a list. Rent, $30,100. Baseball registration, $1,480 across multiple seasons. Summer camps, $2,300. Emergency utilities, $1,126. Car repair, $1,870. Phone, $960. Groceries, $1,740. School supplies. Birthday party deposit. Dental bill Vanessa said insurance would reimburse. It never did. Total, $41,936. I stared at the number. Then I remembered what she said at dinner. You don't have actual responsibilities. I took a screenshot. I didn't send it. Not yet. For the next 6 days, my family tried every version of the same strategy. First came guilt, then anger, then ridicule, then fake concern. My father texted, "Your mother thinks this psychic stuff is making you self-centered." I almost admired the irony. My profession had become psychic stuff again, the moment the money stopped. Vanessa posted vague quotes online. Some people confuse money with love. Then, a child remembers who showed up. That one made me furious because I had shown up for Tyler more times than I could count. I had attended parent pickup when Vanessa forgot. I had sat through freezing baseball practices. I had helped him with a science project about volcanoes at midnight because she hadn't bought the materials. I had taken him to urgent care when he split his chin at school and Vanessa was too overwhelmed to drive. I loved that kid. What I refused to do was let her turn my love for him into a direct debit authorization. The following Monday, I received the call from Aurelia House. Celeste's assistant asked if I had a moment. I stood in my kitchen, gripping the phone. "We'd like to offer you the position." I didn't speak. She laughed. "Gia?" "I'm here." The offer was better than I expected. Base salary, revenue percentage from private sessions, paid media appearances, healthcare, a content development budget, and flexibility to maintain a limited number of my existing private clients. I said yes. After the call, I sat at my kitchen table and cried. Not because of the money, because nobody had given it to me. Nobody had rescued me. Nobody had called someone they knew. Nobody had lowered a standard because I was family. I had built something, and someone respected it. My first instinct was to call Mom. That scared me. Even after everything, some part of me still wanted to hear her say she was proud. I stared at her name in my contacts. Then I called my friend Lena instead. She screamed so loudly I had to pull the phone away from my ear. "I knew it!" I laughed through tears. "You absolutely did not. I spiritually knew it. Don't mock the industry. I would never. I'm going to tell everyone my psychic friend predicted her own promotion. I specifically did not predict this. That makes it funnier." We talked for 20 minutes. She ordered champagne to my apartment. That night, 3 friends came over. We ate takeout on my living room floor and celebrated. Nobody asked me for money. Nobody insulted my work. Nobody made the conversation about Vanessa. It felt almost suspiciously peaceful. Then, at 9:17, my door buzzer rang. Vanessa, of course. I didn't let her upstairs. "What?" Her voice crackled through the intercom. "Come down." "No." "Gia, I'm not doing this through a speaker." "Then we're not doing it." A pause. "I got an eviction warning." "That's fast." "Because the rent didn't clear. You knew it wouldn't. I thought you'd calm down." There it was again. She still believed my boundary was an emotional episode, something temporary, something to outlast. "Vanessa, I canceled it in front of you. You've never actually let me miss rent before. And that was the problem." She hit the buzzer again as if pressing harder would change my answer. My landlord wants payment within 5 days. Then I suggest you call him. With what money? Your money. I don't have any. Then you need a job. Her voice sharpened. I have been applying. No, you haven't. You don't know what I do all day. I almost laughed. You sent me your resume 6 weeks ago because you wanted me to rewrite it. The file properties showed it hadn't been opened since January. Silence. I've been networking. Okay. Why are you talking to me like I'm some loser? I'm not. You think you're so important now because some rich women pay you to wave cards around? My friends were sitting silently behind me now. They could hear everything. I looked at Lena. Her expression changed. Not pity, anger. On my behalf. That gave me strength. Vanessa? What? I got the job. Silence. Then, what job? The interview you wanted me to cancel. Another pause. Oh. That was it. Not congratulations, not I'm happy for you, just annoyance. Then she said, So you'll be making even more now. I actually closed my eyes. There are moments when a person says one sentence and accidentally tells you the whole truth. That was hers. Not, you got the opportunity. Not, you worked hard. Not, I'm sorry I asked you to cancel. You'll be making even more now. Meaning, there is even less reason for you not to give it to me. No, I said. No what? No, I won't be paying your rent. You're unbelievable. No, I think I'm becoming very predictable. She laughed bitterly. Mom was right. This is what happens when people feed your ego. I leaned toward the speaker. Good night, Vanessa. I'm not done. I am. And I disconnected the intercom. Lena stared at me. Then she said quietly, $41,000? I turned around. What? You told us 30-something. I sighed. I recalculated. How much? 41.9. She put her champagne down. Gia, I know. No, I don't think you do. She walked toward me. You paid almost $42,000 to someone who came here tonight and, after hearing you got the biggest opportunity of your career, immediately calculated how your salary could benefit her. I didn't answer, because hearing someone else say it made everything painfully clear. 5 days later, Vanessa got a job. That's the funny part. Amazingly, miraculously, after 14 months of being unable to find anything suitable, she found one in 5 days. An old coworker got her an interview with a local digital marketing agency. The salary wasn't amazing. The hours weren't perfect. She took it. Mom called me to announce this as if I should be ashamed. Your sister has been forced into taking a position that barely covers her expenses. I was in my new office at Aurelia House, unpacking books. Sounds like adulthood. She's going to struggle. I struggled. You didn't have a child. No, I had a sister. Mom stopped talking. I surprised myself with that line. It wasn't planned. It just came out. She recovered quickly. That is disgusting. Is it inaccurate? You offered to help. For 3 months. You knew she depended on you. That's exactly why I stopped. Mom began crying. Not loudly. That quiet, wounded voice she had perfected. I don't know who you are anymore. I stared out my office window. For years, that sentence would have destroyed me. Now, I knew the answer. I'm Gia. I paused. I think you're just meeting the version who says no. Then I hung up. I thought that was the worst of it. I was wrong. Because 2 weeks later came my father's birthday dinner. I almost didn't go. Mom invited me in a stiff text. Your father would like everyone together. We expect you at 7. Not we'd love to see you. We expect you. I considered declining. Then Tyler called me. Not Vanessa. Tyler. Are you coming to Grandpa's birthday? I hesitated. Do you want me there? Yeah. That was enough. I went. I brought Dad a nice bottle of whiskey and a book about classic cars. The moment I walked in, I knew I'd made a mistake. My Aunt Rebecca was there, my Uncle Chris, 2 cousins, Vanessa, Tyler. Mom had assembled an audience. Dinner started civilly, too civilly. Vanessa barely looked at me. Mom asked about Aurelia House without making a joke. Dad thanked me for the gift. For 20 minutes, I almost believed everyone had agreed to behave. Then dessert came. Mom set down the cake. Vanessa cleared her throat. Since everyone's here, I think we need to talk about what Gia did. I put my fork down. Of course. Dad sighed theatrically. Not tonight. But his tone said the opposite. Mom sat. Aunt Rebecca looked uncomfortable. Vanessa continued. I just think the family deserves to know that Gia cut me off financially without warning and almost got Tyler and me evicted. Tyler looked down at his plate. My chest tightened. Vanessa. What? It's true. Don't do this in front of him. Oh, now you're concerned about him? I looked at Tyler. Hey, bud, why don't you go check out Grandpa's new model car in the den? He looked at his mother. Vanessa crossed her arms. He can stay. He should know how family treats family. That did it. Something cold moved through me. Fine. I reached for my phone. Vanessa smiled. What are you going to do? Read our auras? Dad gave a small laugh. Not as loud as last time, but enough. I unlocked my phone. No, I'm going to read numbers. I pulled up the spreadsheet. Since apparently everyone deserves to know. Mom's face changed. Gia, don't. I looked at her. Why not? We're discussing family finances publicly. Vanessa started it. I turned toward the table. After Vanessa's divorce, she asked me to help with rent for 3 months. Vanessa interrupted. It wasn't like that. I ignored her. 3 months became 14. During that time, I paid $30,100 in rent. Aunt Rebecca's eyebrows shot up. I continued. Another $11,836 went to utilities, baseball, camp, groceries, car repairs, school expenses, her phone, and other costs. Uncle Chris stared at Vanessa. Wait, she paid all your rent? Vanessa's face flushed. That's not the point. It's exactly the point. I turned my phone and placed it in the center of the table. I have every transfer. Nobody laughed now. I scrolled. February, $2,150. Another swipe. March, $2,150. Swipe. April. Swipe. May. Mom's voice became sharp. Enough. I looked at her. No. She froze. That word again. I loved it more every time I used it. No. You wanted everyone involved. Let's involve them. I opened another folder. Here are the baseball registration payments. Swipe. Here's the $1,870 transmission repair. Swipe. Here's the emergency electric bill. Swipe. Here's Tyler's summer program. Vanessa snapped. Are you seriously throwing things you did for a child in my face? No. I looked directly at her. I'm showing everyone what you call me selfish for no longer providing. Silence. Even Tyler was staring at his mother now. I hated that he was hearing it.
I hated Vanessa more for making the room unsafe enough that truth felt necessary. Aunt Rebecca cleared her throat. I didn't know it was that much. Because Vanessa told everyone I stopped helping over one baseball game. My cousin looked at her. That's what you said. Vanessa glared at him. I didn't give you every private detail. No, I said. You just gave the ones that made me look cruel. Mom slammed her hand lightly against the table. This is humiliating. I turned to her. For whom? For all of us. No, not all of us. Dad's face darkened. You're enjoying this. That stopped me, because I wasn't, not even a little. I looked at him. You think I wanted this? You came prepared. Yes. Exactly. I shook my head. I came prepared because every time I talk about what happened, you rewrite it. Nobody spoke, so I kept going. You said Vanessa just needed time. I looked at Mom. You told me I had more money, so I should help. Then Dad. You told me a single woman doesn't need as much as a mother. His jaw tightened. I did not say it like that. You said, what are you saving for, Gia? It's not like you have mouths to feed. Aunt Rebecca looked at him. He stared at the table. I turned to Vanessa. And you told me I don't have real responsibilities. She folded her arms. You know what I meant. Yes, I nodded. I finally do. She rolled her eyes, but they were glossy now. I was stressed. You were at brunch. It was one brunch! No, Vanessa. It was 14 months. Her face changed. I leaned forward. It was 14 months of you believing that because I don't have a spouse and children, my life is available for you to use. That's not true. It is. No, it isn't. You told me to cancel a final round job interview so you could drink mimosas. I didn't know it was final round. I told you. Well, I forgot. I laughed once. Exactly. She stared at me. My voice lowered. My life was forgettable to you because you never had to respect it. The room became completely silent. Even Mom didn't interrupt. I went on. My schedule could move. My money could cover gaps. My weekends could become childcare. My career could be a punchline. I looked at Dad. You could laugh at what I do. Then Mom. You could tell relatives it wasn't a real career. Then Vanessa. And all three of you could still expect the money from that career to show up on the 25th. Nobody had anything to say. So Vanessa went for the final weapon. She started crying. Not fake crying. I believe the tears were real. But real tears don't automatically make someone right. I was drowning, she said. Her voice cracked. I got divorced. I was alone. I had Tyler. I didn't know how I was going to make it. My anger softened, because that part was true. She had been drowning, and I had loved her. I know. You don't know. I do. No, Gia. You gotta go home to your quiet condo and sleep. You gotta build some weird career. You didn't have someone depending on you every second. I nodded. You're right. She looked surprised. I don't know what being you feels like. I paused. But you don't know what being me feels like either. She wiped her cheek. You have everything. No. I smiled sadly. I just stopped calling my problems emergencies. That landed. Hard. I pushed my phone away. I helped because I loved you. I would have kept helping in some ways if there had been gratitude, progress, respect. But you turned help into entitlement. She shook her head. I never. You told me I couldn't stop paying your rent.
She looked away. That sentence alone tells me everything. Mom murmured, Gia, she was scared. I know. I looked at her. But fear doesn't create ownership over someone else. Dad leaned back. So what now? You cut off the entire family? No. I stood. I stopped financing disrespect. My mother looked horrified. What does that mean? It means Dad pays his own golf club membership next year. His face went red. It means your annual spa weekend isn't my Christmas gift anymore, Mom. She opened her mouth. It means Vanessa handles her bills. Then I looked at Tyler. And it means if Tyler needs something, his parents ask me respectfully. I decide what I want to do. Nobody tells him Aunt Gia is responsible. Tyler nodded slowly. My throat tightened. Vanessa whispered, So you're punishing everyone? No. I picked up my bag. I'm returning everyone's responsibilities to their original owners. And this time, when I left my parents' house, nobody laughed. The next few months were messy. Boundaries sound empowering when people talk about them online. They use words like freedom, self-respect, healing. All of that can be true, but there's another side. People who benefited from your lack of boundaries usually hate your new ones. My mother stopped calling for 3 weeks. Then she started sending little messages. Your father's blood pressure was high today. Vanessa looks exhausted. Tyler's team needs new uniforms. Not direct requests, just emotional invoices. At first, I responded. Then I learned to recognize them. I would write, I'm sorry to hear that. Nothing more. It drove her crazy. One afternoon, she finally replied, That's all you have to say? I wrote, What would you like me to say? No response. Dad became colder. He told my uncle that Aurelia House had put ideas in my head. That made me laugh because the truth was almost the opposite. My work didn't teach me to abandon my family. It taught me something more uncomfortable. Every day, I sat across from people trying to interpret their lives. Widows who had forgotten who they were outside marriage. Adults still begging for approval from parents who had been dead 10 years. People terrified to make choices without signs. I spent years telling clients, You're allowed to decide. You don't need permission. Love without boundaries becomes resentment. And somehow, I had never listened to myself. At Aurelia House, I flourished. My workshops sold out. My private sessions developed a waiting list. Celeste asked me to help produce a series about intuition and grief. For the first time, my work existed in rooms where nobody smirked when I described it. One afternoon after a session, Celeste stopped by my studio. You know what your strongest skill is? I smiled. Seeing the future? No. She leaned against the doorframe. You know when not to tell people what they want to hear. I thought about my family. That took practice. She didn't know how much. Vanessa's life changed too. The job she had settled for turned out to be fine. Within 3 months, she got a raise. 6 months later, she was managing 2 accounts. The world did not end. Her apartment did not disappear. Tyler did not become homeless. In fact, something strange happened. Vanessa got more organized. When nobody was waiting behind her with a financial safety net, she started budgeting. She canceled subscriptions. She sold the SUV and bought a smaller used car. She cooked more. She stopped ordering delivery 5 nights a week. Was she happy about it? Absolutely not. But she did it. And then came the moment I hadn't expected. Tyler called me one Saturday morning. Are you busy? I have a client at 2. Why? My game is at 10. I smiled. Are you asking me to come? Yeah. Then yes. I went. I sat in the bleachers with coffee and watched him hit a double in the 4th inning. He looked toward the stands immediately. When he saw me clapping, his whole face lit up. Vanessa was sitting 4 rows down. She glanced back once. Neither of us spoke. After the game, Tyler ran over. "Did you see it?" "I saw it. I almost got to third." "You absolutely did not almost get to third." "I did. You would have been thrown out by 15 feet. He grinned. For a few minutes, everything felt simple. Then he ran toward his teammates. Vanessa approached me. Her hands were tucked into her jacket. "Thanks for coming." I looked at her. "You don't have to thank me for showing up when I choose to." She flinched slightly. "I didn't mean... I know." A pause. She looked toward the field. "I was awful to you." I said nothing. She swallowed. I keep trying to find a version of that sentence that sounds less pathetic, but there isn't one. That surprised me. I waited. She continued. "When you stopped paying everything, I hated you." "I know. I thought you were trying to destroy me." "I wasn't." "I know that now." She rubbed her palms together. I got my first full paycheck and sat down with the bills. Rent, electric, insurance, food, and I was furious. I almost smiled. Sounds fun. It was horrible. I laughed. She did too. Barely. Then her expression changed. And then I realized you'd been doing it. I looked at her. "What?" "All of it." She nodded toward me. "You were paying your own mortgage, your business expenses, your insurance, your taxes, and then sending me more than $2,000 every month." I didn't answer. She looked embarrassed. "I'd made up this whole story where your money just appeared." "That would be convenient." "I know." Her eyes filled. "I think I needed to believe that." "Why?" "Because otherwise, I had to admit what I was taking." That was the first real apology she ever gave me. Not the words, "I'm sorry." Those came later. But that sentence, that was the apology. She finally understood. "I'm sorry," she whispered. I studied her face. Part of me wanted to hug her. Part of me remembered the dining table, the laughter, the text telling me to pick up Tyler after I said no. "You hurt me." "I know. You made me feel pathetic for not having the life you had." "I know. You mocked the work that supported you." She shut her eyes. "I know. And you used Tyler against me." A tear rolled down her cheek. "I know." I nodded. Then I said something that would have been impossible for the old version of me. "I forgive you." Her eyes opened. "But I'm not going back." Her face fell slightly. "I wasn't asking. I need you to understand." "I do." No more rent. No emergency credit card. No automatic bills. No assuming I'm free because I don't have kids. She nodded. And no making me the bad guy to Tyler. "I won't." I believed she meant it. Whether she would succeed forever, I didn't know. And maybe that was the most important lesson my profession had given me. You don't need certainty about someone's future to decide what you will accept from them today. We stood beside the baseball field for another minute. Then Tyler yelled from across the grass, "Aunt Gia, pizza!" I laughed. Vanessa wiped her face. "You want to come?" I hesitated, then smiled. "Yeah." "I'm paying." I raised an eyebrow. "With what?" She shoved my shoulder. "Shut up." And for the first time in years, when my sister bought me lunch, I let her. My parents took longer, Mom especially.
She couldn't understand why everything couldn't simply go back to normal. That sentence became one of my favorites, because normal had been wonderful for her. Normal meant I absorbed inconvenience. Normal meant I paid. Normal meant nobody had to examine why one daughter's time mattered more than the other's. Normal meant peace purchased with my silence. So whenever she said, "I just want our family back to normal," I answered, "I don't." Eventually, she stopped asking. Dad apologized in his own awkward way. He came to Aurelia House one afternoon. No warning. I walked into the lobby after a workshop and saw him sitting on one of the curved couches, looking deeply uncomfortable between a fountain and a shelf of meditation journals. I almost laughed. "Dad?" He stood. "This place is nice." For my father, that was practically a standing ovation. "Thanks." He looked around. "People actually come here?" "Yes, Dad." "A lot?" I folded my arms.
What did you think? He cleared his throat. I don't know. There it was. At least it was honest. I took him into my office. He stared at the framed article on the wall, then the shelves, then the schedule on my tablet. "You're booked all week?" "For the next 6. He nodded. A long silence. Finally, he said, "I shouldn't have laughed." I looked at him. "No." "You helped us a lot." "Yes." "We got used to it." "Yes." He grimaced. "You're not going to make this easy, are you?" I smiled. "No." To my surprise, he smiled too. Then he looked at the floor. "I'm proud of you." Those words. I had imagined hearing them so many times. I thought they would fix something, heal something, make the years of dismissal disappear. They didn't. But they still mattered. "Thank you." He nodded. Then he asked awkwardly, "Do you ever, you know—" "What?" "See things about family?" I stared at him. He gestured vaguely. "The future." I laughed so hard I had to sit down. Dad looked offended. "What?" "Nothing." "You're laughing." "I'm sorry." "So?" I smiled. "No free readings." He stared at me for 2 seconds, then finally laughed too. It has been almost a year since that dinner. The one where Vanessa told me to cancel my interview. The one where my parents laughed because I didn't have a spouse or children. The one where I canceled her rent payment between bites of chicken. Sometimes I think about how close I came to doing what I always did. I almost said yes. That's the part that scares me. I almost called Aurelia House and invented an emergency. I almost sacrificed an opportunity I had worked 11 years to earn because my sister wanted brunch. And if I had, nobody in my family would have considered it extraordinary. That was the problem. My sacrifices had become invisible because they were expected. Aurelia House recently renewed my contract, with a raise. My private client list is smaller now, but I like it that way. I have evenings. I travel occasionally. I joined a pottery class despite being absolutely terrible at pottery. I started dating someone. Her name is Mara. She's a photographer. She thinks my job is fascinating, though she remains delightfully skeptical about half of what I do. Our third date, she asked me, "So, psychic, am I going to regret ordering the seafood?" I said, "Absolutely." She ordered it anyway. She was fine. She still brings it up. I haven't told my family much about her yet. Not because I'm ashamed, because I learned that privacy and secrecy are different things. Some parts of my life deserve time to grow before I hand them to people who used to treat everything I loved as public property. Vanessa and I are better. Not perfect. Better. She pays her own rent. She still complains about it. Every month. Usually with a meme. Sometimes she asks me to watch Tyler. Now she actually asks, "Are you free Saturday?" Sometimes I say yes. Sometimes I say no. And when I say no, she says, "Okay." You would be amazed how beautiful that word can sound. Tyler and I are close. I still go to baseball games because I want to. That distinction changed everything. Mom has mostly stopped making comments about how easy my life is. Once, at Christmas, she almost said something about how Vanessa was busier because she has Tyler. She caught herself. I saw it happen. Then she said, "You both have a lot going on. Progress can be tiny. I'll take it." The strangest part is that I don't feel victorious because my sister struggled. I don't enjoy knowing she had to panic about rent. I don't feel powerful because my parents were embarrassed. That isn't what made any of this worth it. The victory was discovering that I could stop. I could stop paying, stop explaining, stop proving, stop performing usefulness in exchange for belonging. For years, I thought being needed was the same thing as being loved. It isn't. Being needed can feel wonderful until the first time you say no. Then you discover whether the person loved you or simply loved your availability. A few weeks ago, I finished a late session at Aurelia House. The building was nearly empty. The lamps were dim. Rain tapped softly against the windows. I was gathering my cards when my client, an older woman named Helen, paused at the door. She had come to me several times after losing her husband. That evening, we had talked less about him and more about her plans, her friends, a trip she wanted to take alone but felt guilty about. She looked back at me. "Can I tell you something?" "Of course." "You said something during my first reading that annoyed me." I smiled. "That happens." "You said I kept waiting for permission from people who weren't going to give it." I remembered. She adjusted her coat. I thought it was nonsense. "Also happens." She laughed. "Last month, I booked the trip." My smile widened. "Good." "I went to Lisbon." "How was it?" "Wonderful." Then she looked at me with an expression I'll never forget. "Thank you for telling me I was allowed to have a life that belonged to me." After she left, I stood alone in the hallway. For some reason, that sentence hit me harder than almost anything that had happened that year. Because I realized I had spent my career giving people permission I never gave myself. You can choose. You can leave. You can say no. You can disappoint someone. You can love people without funding them. You can support family without surrendering your future. You can be generous without becoming responsible for another adult's life. You can walk away from a table where everybody is laughing at you. And sometimes, you can come back later, but only if the seat they offer you is different from the one you left. I turned off the lights in my studio. Outside, the rain had stopped. My phone buzzed. A message from Vanessa. "Tyler's game Saturday at 11. Want to come? No pressure." I smiled. No command, no guilt, no assumption, just an invitation. I checked my calendar. Saturday morning was free. I wrote back, "Yeah, I'll be there." 3 dots appeared. Then, "Cool, I'll bring coffee." I slipped my phone into my coat pocket and walked outside. For once, nobody needed me to rescue them. Nobody was waiting for a payment. Nobody was demanding that I prove I cared. I was simply going somewhere because I wanted to go. Maybe that doesn't sound dramatic. Maybe it isn't the kind of ending people expect from someone who makes a living talking about intuition, signs, spirits, and the unseen pieces of life. There was no grand prediction, no cosmic revenge, no vision of my family begging at my feet. Just a canceled payment, a kept interview, a job I loved, a nephew I could enjoy without being used through him, a sister learning to stand on her own, parents slowly learning that access to me was not the same thing as ownership of me. And me? I finally understood something I should have known long before I ever turned over my first tarot card. The future is not something you sit around waiting to be shown. Sometimes it begins with one word. A word so small you can say it without raising your voice. A word that can save your money, your time, your dignity. Sometimes even your relationship with the people you love, because resentment finally stops poisoning everything underneath it. My sister told me to cancel the biggest interview of my career because she wanted to go to brunch. I said no. She mocked me. My parents laughed, so I stopped paying the rent of someone who thought my life mattered less than hers. For months, they called me selfish, cold, dramatic, ungrateful. Maybe the old Gia would have believed them. This one doesn't, because I know exactly what I gave. I know exactly what it cost. And I know something even more important now. Love can be generous. Love can help. Love can sacrifice. But love that requires you to disappear so everyone else can stay comfortable isn't love worth protecting. So no, I don't regret canceling Vanessa's rent. I only regret that it took me $41,936 to understand I was allowed to stop. And if there's one thing I can predict with absolute certainty now, it's this. Nobody in my family will ever mistake my kindness for permission again.